So thank you all for joining us. We are very, very excited to celebrate the 5th anniversary of VSA exams today. We have a very special chief guest who is joining us, Shri Ragavan Manian, and we have our students and teachers from across the globe who are here to support us. So this is a very special day for us. As you know, Vidya Subramanian Academy has been in the field of online teaching of our classical art forms, particularly Carnatic music, for more than 15 years. We have nearly 2,000 students learning Carnatic vocal, instrumental music. Again, everybody who's on Zoom, please ensure that your mics are muted because we are on YouTube as well. So one of the core team members maybe can just check if somebody is unmuted accidentally, please make sure they get muted. So as I was mentioning, so we have been in the field of online teaching for more than 15 years. Our classes include Carnatic vocal, instrumental, which includes violin, veena, flute, mridangam, kanjira, Hindustani vocal, tabla, yoga, shlokas and Tamil chants, languages including Tamil, Sanskritam, Telugu, Kannada, Konnakol, Bharatanatyam, and recently we have added Fun with Mathematics, which is based on Vedic mathematics. We continue to grow organically with a policy of social entrepreneurship, where we want to reach students across the globe, and we also want to provide work from home opportunities to artists, especially women, all across India. And today we have a student body of 2,000. We have also conducted over 500 exams under the leadership of VSA's exams director Soumya Ranganathan. And we have also added new initiatives like the VSA Sabha, which is a performance space in Chennai. And we have also conducted workshops through the year for the benefit of our students. We continue to focus on the social aspect, where we put out a lot of free educational content on social media, in particular our YouTube channel, so that students who may not be able to afford to pay can still continue to benefit from our initiatives. With that, I would like to introduce our chief guest of the day, Shri Ragavan Manian. Welcome, Ragavan. Very delighted to have you. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. You are extremely well known in the community of musicians, but I would nevertheless like to introduce you formally to our students and teachers. So Ragavan Manian is a vocalist, multi-instrumentalist, composer, band leader, songwriter and educator. He studied electrical engineering in IIT Madras and the University of Virginia. Ragavan also holds an MBA from the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. After nearly 2 decades in Fortune 500 companies and startups, he has branched in other directions, notably music performance, composition and education. He continues to mentor CEOs of a number of niche startups. Ragavan is the winner of multiple accolades over the years, including the inaugural Balamurali Krishna Puraskar from Vishaka Cultural Academy and Vipanchi Arts Academy Awards. He is an Asthana Vidwan of Kanchi Kamakoti Shankaramat and an A-grade artist of All India Radio Chennai. He is a prime disciple of the late Carnatic music doyen and legend Padma Vibhushan Dr. M. Balamurali Krishna. Ragavan performs and teaches a wide range of in a wide range of institutional and musical contexts, from engaging school children in creativity through his Sound is Good Musical Connection school program, to working with artists and bands performing in orthodox Carnatic music performance forums, to exploring crossovers via his fusion venture Ragavan Manian Experience. Ragavan acted as Sri Tyagaraja Swami in the noted biopic Endaro Mahanubavalu, which is available on YouTube. With over 200 original songs to his credit, Ragavan's compositions have been featured in several concerts and received praise from musicians and poets alike. He has written songs, composed music for plays, documentaries and dance productions. With a voice reminiscent of his Guru Parampara, he is also a sought-after saxophonist and flautist. He plays the violin and slide guitar. So can you think of a more versatile person than Ragavan. I cannot. So welcome, Ragavan, and delighted to have you here. I'll hand over the mic to Soumya. We do have some questions to ask you as a short fireside chat to get the process rolling today.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, namaskarams to all, and namaskaram to Raghavanji. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you amongst us today. So how has your Carnatic training shaped your journey and evolution into such a versatile artist?
Carnatic music is a tradition that, I know I am speaking to the gallery when I say this to you, because you are all already very vested in the art form. But just to remind ourselves of the tradition and also its advantages. Now, having an old tradition is a huge advantage for any student of music. Why? Because it is through a period of hundreds of years that the best practices get filtered and passed down. Right. So when you start off exploring, you are already at a place where several best practices have been handed over. You know, you have a good set of do's and don'ts. And many of these are incredibly versatile advice, not only to music, but in many other directions. And I'll say, I'll elucidate a little bit more on that multi-directional aspect of learning a traditional art form. With Carnatic music, of course, the world looks at Carnatic music with a lot of respect now these days, because the world is a more connected place now. So maybe 100 years ago, far fewer people knew about this art form, and compared to that, today we find many people who from all over the world come to Chennai and all the other major centers, and vice versa. There are centers of excellence, notably in the United States and all other major Indian enclaves of Carnatic music. And the reason all these continue to be embraced by a very critical audience, right? And not only the diaspora, not only the people who are, quote unquote, indoctrinated, but just new minds, young minds, fresh minds, is because they see the connectivity in the art form. When a student begins this tradition, we learn the notes, the Swaravali, the Geetam, the Varnam, and so on. So we are looking at only the structure and the grammar, right? So in the engineering terms, these are called low-level aspects of the music. So low-level doesn't mean it's lower. It just means that they're building blocks, right? When you build a system from ground up like that, from lower to higher levels of understanding, you naturally create a hierarchy of ideas, right? So that when the foundation is laid using the notational, structural aspects, what sits on top of it is going to be very, very firm but at the same time flexible within the idiom, right? So the notes, the tala, the raga we are talking about basically is the foundation, and on top of it we have, one by one we add things to it, and as we grow into the art, we see that the art is also growing. It is, therefore suddenly, the whole learning a Varnam and then the Kriti opens up a whole new aspect of literature and poetry. So this is something that I find in common with all students of music who have had the stomach to persevere for 3, 4, 5 years. Then they suddenly feel like there's a renaissance in the music. The music has always been there. The renaissance is from within. They say that great art imitates life. So great art is actually parallels life. It follows us as we grow. So and as our commitment deepens in the art form, the kind of questions that we also ask ourselves, we find some answers and parallels in the art form itself. So that when a teenager is faced with difficulties in navigating the school system and the educational system, you'll find similar struggles as well as very refreshingly different perspectives in the study of music in general. So, and Carnatic music particularly, because we have a tradition. Again, the Guru Parampara that we pride ourselves is because our Gurus have been transparent with us. And they have also been very cautious with us to give us the right information at the right time. Many times we as art teachers find ourselves as counselors, as a body of teachers yourselves, you'll notice that your conversations with students have become more and more personal in the classes, that they bring problems that they face outside. And why is it? Is it because, of course, they find some sort of outsider perspective, but it's also because we have certain answers in the framework of our study of the music. So this is where it gets difficult to be very specific. It's an intangible benefit of the art form. There is also the other aspect of the art form, which is studying the composers themselves. So when we see the lives of the great composers, if it's Tyagaraja Swami, of course, we all know his story. We know that his songs are very reflective. And by the time we are studied in the kritis and we reflect on the meanings of the kritis, we are facing problems that are philosophical in nature, right? And some of those philosophical questions will find resonance in some of these compositions. So now from raga to tala, the foundation is learned. Now we are building on bhava on top of it. The Sahitya brings bhavam. And from there on, the world is our oyster. So this is basically the summary of it is that the Carnatic journey is, to use a common expression, it's a lifelong journey. It is as long as the lives of our composers. If Tyagaraja Swami lived 80 years, then we can be assured that at least till our 80 years of life, we'll have some problems that we grapple and find answers in the compositions of those greats. And then there are also very specific interests that we can explore. If you have interests in say, architecture and art, and that is a different facet. We see some of Muthuswami Dikshit's songs reflect that. And so on and so forth. The language itself, if you purely want to explore language, there is all the body of works in the Tamil mover and then Sanskrit, of course. So we are basically, they say, through music, there are many. You can actually have an entire basket of mangoes that you fill. But we all start the journey thinking we are learning Carnatic music, right? It's just that one thing. So that the focus and the depth is actually not just the art, but all the things that it yields in the journey. So in my in my experience, this has been the growth, that I constantly find something interesting. I find something interesting in even the most basic songs, Sri Gananatha. Even that is very interesting to me, because the journey of Malahari, where you are probably 8 or 9 years old when you first learned that Geetam, if you again teach it every single time, you will find, if you look deeply, some connections. So one day it might be, oh, does this not sound like Gunakali, which is a Hindustani raga? So then you will explore songs in Gunakali, right? And then another day you may think this sounds so much like a mode in Japanese music. Actually, you will find a lot of common Japanese tunes in the raga Malahari. right? So then you are suddenly taking a journey that takes us much further from Bharatanatyam to Japan, right? And then generally, I think this is how we can keep on deepening our interests in our culture, and from using that as a portal, explore others. And the most important thing for me in Carnatic music is it's my home, right? So one of the most important feelings in completing a human experience is the feeling that I am back home. So no matter where I explore, what I do, I am an avid student of jazz, a fan of Western classical music. I listen to everything from punk and metal to rap and hip hop and everything. But at the end of the day, like you complete a meal with tair sadam, a curd rice, you know that there is always your musical meal that is waiting for you, which is the meal that has you have grown up since you were a child and continues to nourish you in more ways than you can imagine. Okay, this is my short and long.
Thank you, Raghavan. I think you touched on some beautiful points here about how Carnatic music has really been your home base and has helped you launch your search in other genres, your exploration. So it really took us on a very nice journey there. That leads me to another question I have. I've always admired your versatility and how you're able to switch back and forth between the genres. And today, as teachers, we find that many students enjoy learning and performing across genres. And as someone who is somewhat limited in my personal exposure to other genres, this is a question that I would like to ask you because I think it will benefit our students. Like, how did you get exposed? You spoke about jazz, Japanese music, Western classical. Did you just go and start listening, or did you actually take some lessons? How did you expose yourself? And also, as a creative musician who performs across multiple genres, starting with Carnatic music to others, how has your instrumental training and practice helped your vocal training? So it's a two-part question. How did you explore your interests and widen your interest to other genres? And how does your instrumental training shape your vocal training and vice versa? If you could just answer that, I think many of our students would benefit from your insights.
Sure. Yeah, they're actually, it's a two-part question, but it is a very closely connected two parts. So the exploration of genres does feed into the exploration of instruments and vice versa. I can actually very vividly recall what drew me to each of the instruments that I played. For example, flute, which I really enjoy playing. And the first instrument I learned was not the flute, but it was probably the instrument I deeply fell in love with after exploring other instruments. And the reason for that is because I fell in love with Hari Prasad Chaurasia's music. And that brought me into the world of Hindustani music. It was the portal. And when I realized that Hindustani music and learning to sing might come in conflict with my current classes and my progress as a Carnatic vocalist, I decided, just based on my own intuition, that it would not be a bad idea to take on an instrument to explore the genre. So it was an effort to learn, understand, and build some depth into Hindustani music, as well as capture that beautiful sound that was coming out of my idol's flute playing. And for that, I think I also have to thank my own guru, Dr. Balamurali Krishna, because in his house I met the who's who of Indian music, at least, if not the world across. Everybody, big names, as well as practitioners and students. There will be all kinds of people in his home. And sometimes he would introduce me to them, and so that connection, that's how I knew Hari Prasad Chaurasia, Pandit Hari Prasad Chaurasia, Pandit Jasraj, Pandit Bhimsen Joshi. I met them in his house, all of them. So the Hindustani lure was actually like started there. So to explore the actual compositions, the best way is to actively learn them, right? And so I learned cheeses in on the flute, and then I realized that the instrumental tradition in Hindustani music is different from the vocal tradition. So the vocal tradition predominantly is khayal, but the instrumental tradition is actually based on Drupad. So without my knowing it, I was actually learning the Drupad tradition on the flute. So you see, it is not always a deliberate attempt at, okay, let me get this genre right. It's not like a university which gives you many, many options and you have exactly defined boundaries. It's actually quite organic. That's why I enjoyed it when Vidya reeled off the list of things that are being taught at your VSA. And then finished it by saying we are growing organically. And I could totally relate to it because you start off with something innocently, saying that I know this, and this is probably the only thing I'm qualified to teach. By the way, most of my teaching is in Carnatic music because I feel heart of hearts. I am truly only qualified to teach Carnatic music because I learned it on a very traditional way. So even though I know I can play certain pieces and in certain instruments and genres, that feeling of adequacy in a genre was only thanks to my close association with my guru and gurus, in fact, in Carnatic music. But having said that, the organic growth of genres, right? That led me to others. The other thing is, embracing travel is a cultural experience. Like many of us did, I went to the United States for graduate study, right? And my charter was very simple: get a master's, if possible, get a PhD, and work in the technology sector, which I did for many years. But outside of the confines of academia, I also had many chances that I could grab onto, which was my project partner was a guitar player. And he was, what kind of guitar? It didn't matter to me because he said he was a guitar player and then he played something and it was very exciting. And then I learned all about playing the guitar, understanding chord progressions, chord structures, harmony, which was all a very new language to me when I was in graduate school. So suddenly I just, that was very exciting. So that was the culture of that place. I was in the University of Virginia. It was a liberal arts school. For the first time in my life, I was not only doing engineering study and Carnatic music and or Indian classical music. So I learned the piano. I learned to play the guitar from this friend of mine. So again, it was just the only ingredient was be excited by the music around you, right? And so that kind of stuck with me, and then it led me to a bunch of other things, right? Which means I could now understand theory of harmony slightly better. But in all these steps, so I learned the guitar, and then that brought me into jazz. I moved to Pittsburgh. There was a big jazz scene there. I could now afford concerts for tickets. Earlier, I would hesitate. It was $10. Now I had lots of money. So like I could afford $20 or even more, and went to those jazz concerts and got used to that. But everything I did, definitely at the time, at least, I approached it with the lens of a Carnatic musician. Everything in my head would become a ragam. So it'll be like, oh, now it was playing Ranjani. Now it is sounding like, that sounding like, and mapping it into ragams and talams. It is something that happens automatically even today in my head. Now I'm I'm a bit more fluent with, okay, I know this is now a modulation into the second, or oh, he's doing, oh, it's a tritone now. Now that it's going to go in. So yeah, I've learned those theories over time. But inside of me, my most dominant voice is what ragam is it, what talam is it, and how can I map it to this Carnatic song or that Carnatic? Oh, or how can I take that and then create a kriti with it? So at the end of that, my playthings are always back to how can I write a varnam or a kirtana or a tillana or a padam or a javali, or how can I find something that Tyagaraja has created or Kshetraya has created, and where are those relationships? So that seeking, I think that early imbibing of the art form has been tremendous, and so the gratitude is almost it's never ending, the gratitude that I have for that initial spark of interest that my parents, because I'm not a family of musicians, that advantage was not there for me. It was just that my dad, mom noticed that I was always doing something with music, always humming a tune, always getting excited by Carnatic music and music around me, and they got me into it, and that has there's also a whole other thing where my engineering and management careers benefited, but I think I have to save that for another day. but safe to say that the journey in music, it's a demanding journey. It demands the student to be simultaneously seeking depth and being open-eared in more ways than one, metaphorically open to music from all directions. And then using sort of a lodestone that you hone over the years through the study of your own tradition, and then, make it your own. At the end of it, that's Swadharmam, of taking everything you have and creating your own heaven with it. Right? That this is what I love doing day in and day out. Right?
Thank you, Raghavan. I mean, you shared so much with us, and throughout your discussion, what was evident was your unending passion for the art form, and I think that is hugely inspiring for all of us. And I think you are a great example to all our students who sometimes grapple with balancing their academic pursuits with their music and sometimes give up on the music. And here's a great example of someone who's actually been through an IIT education, business school. And you, as you said, the music, I'm sure, has helped you, become a well-rounded person, become a happier individual. And I think that is, as you said, a story in itself, and I think it's very inspiring. So thank you for generously sharing with us so much today in a short span of time. And once again, we applaud you for all your accomplishments and wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.